Well, I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Chris Eubank Jr. And I'm going to start today, Chris, by asking you, and everybody loves to talk to you about it, what difference has Roy Jones Jr. made in your career and maybe in your life in what is almost 2 years now?
Roy he's changed my outlook on boxing, and he's given me a new fire, a new lease of life, I guess you could say. You know, there wasn't too much more I thought I could learn as a fighter. And yeah, after meeting Roy, I realized how wrong I was, even after 10 years, I'm still learning new things with this man every time we're in the gym together. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's funny because, boxing and the art of things is so much about passing things on. Obviously, the DNA of your father passes on to you, the DNA of his physicality, of his descent passes on to you, as does your mother's. And of course, but there's another element in terms of how the history of Sun Tzu and the art of war, warriors themselves passing things on, passing the torch on. And Roy has mentioned that to me, that he really wants to pass his torch on to you. And it must be very confidence filling. It must help your self-belief, not that you lack it, but it must help your self-belief that this guy, who when you watch some of the things he does from middleweight to heavyweight when he boxes, just crazy. It must feel brilliant to have that, what sports psychologists call scaffolding in the background,
Yeah, the support, the belief, the backing. I have his backing. He has my back, and that is, that's a hell of a feeling. Someone you've watched your entire career, who you consider a legend, to know that he really does believe in you, and that he really does want you to be the best fighter you can be, and to help you get to those, to the goals that you want to achieve. It's a great feeling. And yeah, it definitely is a confidence booster for sure.
Is the fact that Chris Eubank Senior is delighted that you're with Roy, has that helped? Because father has definitely taken a backwards seat since that, because before that he was very much forefront with you, and we know what kind of character he is, and he's a showman, and maybe some of that deflected from you at times as well. And it must be pleasing that Dad feels he can take a backward step now.
Well, I wouldn't actually say that that's happened because of Roy. That's probably happened since after the Groves fight. Then I went searching for a trainer. I ended up working with Nate in the States. That was when you started seeing a shift. But at the beginning of my career, I didn't really want to do the whole media thing. I didn't really like talking to people, and I just wanted to fight. I wanted to prove the doubters and the haters wrong. That's all I cared about. That's all I was focused on. So I guess that's where my father kind of came in and took the pressure off me, because there was always going to be media obligations, and he kind of took that role. That's why he was always the one talking. Now, it's over the last few years, I'm a veteran now. So I'm comfortable. I've been there. I've done it. I know the process. I know the steps. I know how to express myself a lot better than I did when I was 22. So he's just not needed to speak for me anymore. I'm happy to do that. And yeah, he is very happy that I'm now working with Roy, which is great. He was fully behind it from the beginning. So yeah, we have a great team now. We have a great setup.
As you say, you're a 10-year vet now as a professional, but let me take you back to earlier in your life. When you were a young boy, obviously you were growing up in Hove in your early teens. Did you believe then that you would go on and be a professional boxer and head towards having ambitions to be a world champion and all of those kind of things that go with it?
That was always the dream. Once I really started getting into boxing, 14, 15, once my dad let me into the gym, started training, had my first few spars, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to become, an elite level fighter, a world champion. I wanted to make a name for myself. And, aside from my dad, I knew that I didn't want to always be Chris Eubank's son. I wanted to be my own man. Having the same name has made that extremely difficult. But I think I've done it, and I'm continuing to do it. But yeah, I always knew from very early on that I wanted to become the best.
There's a couple of well, simply the best comes to mind there as well. So there's a couple of amazing stories involving you and your father. There's one that I love, which is and you can throw water on this, whether it's apocryphal or not. That in your late teens, the end or high school, that you lived with a lady in Las Vegas and you attended high school in Las Vegas, but it was based on your father's radar that he picked the right lady to let you guys live with. And he didn't know her that well, but you guys spent 2 years there and had an amazing time. You won the Golden Gloves in Nevada, and it really did propel you on the way. Is that really true? And what was that experience like?
It was true, yeah. I mean, what isn't true is what the media and the newspapers put out there, that my old man had, gave me away and I was adopted. Obviously, that just never happened.
Did he meet you on a park bench? Is that right? They started chatting on a park bench.
I don't know the story of where they met, but she wasn't a stranger. Right. They'd been in contact for a while, and she had gained his trust, and he had gained her trust, and they were friends. And
what's her name, Chris? And are you still in touch?
No. Wow, I actually forgot what is Jesus.
We can come back. We can come back to it.
This is something I was talking about the other day. Memory loss. And it's how you notice. You start noticing things. Things you should remember certain things or recall certain things, and you can't. And that's something that, as a fighter, you kind of, especially when you get older, you start, you really start to think about things. You can't keep getting hit. You've got to move your head, because it's it's going to come back to me.
Okay, but tell me about those 2 years in Las Vegas, in Nevada, Sin City, we all call it. Remember? So,
yes, so I went to high school. We lived with her. I graduated from high school. I actually got a scholarship to UNLV, but I never ended up going. I moved back to England before I could actually start going, which I kind of always regretted, that I didn't get to experience that part of growing up, going to uni, or they call it college. But I had to box. I had to compete. I had to go back to England. Yeah, that's where I, got my ass kicked every week by professionals, top professionals at top ranked gym. and then later on at Floyd Mayweather's gym when he opened it up. That's where I learned my trade. That's where the foundation was built. That's where really, I only had 26 amateur fights, but really I had 126 amateur fights, or, no, I had 526 amateur fights, because I was sparring, 2-3 times a week, every week. And those spars were, much more intense than, an amateur fight, that's where I got my experience from. Even though I'm on paper technically inexperienced in the amateurs, I was sparring a lot. So that's where I got my experience from.
Do you remember, Chris? Do you remember being in the Mayweather gym with Mayweather around? And were you like, God, I want to jump in and have a spar with him. I want to jump in and try and knock his head off. No.
I used to watch all the pros. There were loads of pros. I actually sparred quite a few of them. I remember sparring Zab Judah. I sparred Chad Dawson.
Yeah.
I sparred a bunch of pros. So at first I was trained by Mike McCallum.
Yeah.
Then after a year or two, I started working with Floyd Mayweather Senior. And it's just the things you learn, the things you see, in those gyms and around those types of people. You can't get that anywhere really. You have to go to the city of sin. That's where these guys are. People that don't know boxing, where they think, well, Vegas is the last place you want to go to really, knuckle down and learn the trade of boxing, because all they see is the distractions. You got the strip and the clubs and the girls and the drugs and the strip clubs. But, outside of that entertainment area on the strip, you have a real city. You got schools and gyms and everything, hospitals and all this stuff, and the gyms.
There's a lot of hustle in Vegas outside it, isn't there? You've got to be able to hustle in a good way. I mean, in a good way.
Good and bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sure, but the gyms out there, they're just always full of fighters. Whether they're getting ready to fight in Nevada or just they just want to come and train. People just flock to Vegas to train and to fight and to spar. So it was a great place to be, and still is.
And from Nevada, the second story I wanted to bring up today was when Dan took you to, and then this was another test, took you to Cuba to train with the Cuban amateur team, and you had to get in the ring with a Cuban heavyweight, I believe.
Yep. The worst beating I ever took in a boxing ring.
And it was his test to see if he believed you could really do it.
No, my father wasn't expecting that to happen. I think 2 days before, I don't speak, what's the language?
Spanish.
Yeah, I don't speak Spanish. So I ended up sparring, I think, the middleweight Olympian representative. And it was supposed to be a technical spar. And I didn't understand when they said that. So when the bell went, I just went at it. And, I think I hurt the kid in the second round. It was, it was a 3-round spar, got out, and, I was looking around. I was like, happy. I was like, yeah, I just beat this guy up. And I could see some of the Cuban coaches were like, what the hell? Like they were, they weren't happy. And I didn't realize why. So then 2 days later, I'm back in the gym and they're basically saying, jump in the ring and spar this guy, this heavyweight. So they'd obviously decided, all right, they thought I was taking advantage, like, it's supposed to be a technical spar and I'm throwing him in hard. So let's put him in with heavyweight and, let's take advantage of him a little bit. And that's what the kid did. The guy was, I don't know how big, 220, 230 pounds. And he beat the shit out of me for 3 rounds, knocked me out of the ring. I had to get back up. It was actually concrete around outside of the ring. So when I fell out of the ring, I hit my knee and it went dead. So I had to get back in the ring and I'm, hopping around the ring for 3 rounds, can't even feel one of my legs. And yeah, he beat me up bad. And, it was a tough experience, but, I'm glad it happened because it taught me that, if a heavyweight, a Cuban Olympian can't knock me out, then I don't have to worry about these middleweights. I don't have to worry about anybody in my own weight. That's for sure. And he caught me flush a couple times. So yeah, it was horrible, but I'm thankful for that experience.
We've talked about the past a little bit. Let's bring things up to now and certainly the last couple of years. Obviously, the last couple of years have been a bit odd because of the restrictions on boxers and everyone in general, and crowds and big fights. It's been fascinating watching your growth since the World Boxing Super Series, for example. You were a huge part of that. The fights you had in that were enormous. What, for you, have been the most significant moments for you in the last 2 or 3 years, bringing you up to, you're a box office fighter now. You're a guy who is on the cusp the whole time of challenging the biggest names in boxing for a world title. I mean, what's been the biggest moments in the last couple of years for you, last 2 or 3 years?
Well, I definitely have to put the De Gale win up there. That's probably the most satisfying moment for me as well. My first fight in America, that was a massive thing for me. And it is a shame that kind of got cut short, and I'm not just talking about the fact that Korobov quit in the second round or whatever, with COVID hitting and me not really being able to continue with that the American outfit Showtime and that. I mean, who knows what could have happened? I mean, what was supposed to happen was they were supposed to set the fight up in 2020 with me and Charlo. We both fought on the same bill in 2019 and we both won, and they were going to set up a fight between me and him. So, it's like you just wonder, like, what would have happened? What if COVID hadn't hit, where would I be now? I could be world champion right now, but everything happens for a reason. I'm not going to say that I'm disappointed. I'm actually very happy now being here in England, fighting on Sky Sports. I've got this big, massive domestic fight coming up that probably would never have happened if I had stayed in the States. And from that, where there are, some big fights to be had in 2022. So, everything happens for a reason. We're on track. And yeah, these next few years are going to be massive, I believe.
As you say, I imagine you're still pushing for the Jamal Charlo fight as well, but also I know you've mentioned Gennady Golovkin. It's a fight you really want. I think it's a brilliant stylistic matchup for you, but we mustn't, of course, overlook Liam Williams. There's an element of him feeling grudge towards you. He says he doesn't like you. We've seen you together at the press conference. The fight's been delayed twice. It makes it bigger. Styles make fights, and this has excited us because we know that Williams is a dog. He loves to fight, and he probably only knows one way to do it, and he'll probably want to draw you into a dog fight. I imagine you're not overlooking him, and you have to take this fight very seriously because he's a strong contender. Tell me about your feelings about him as a person, and also the fight that we're going to witness next Saturday night.
I mean, as a person, it's no secret. I don't respect him. I don't like him. He's the type of fighter that I believe gives the sport a bad name. And people like him need to be pushed out of the sport. And that's my plan on February 5th. I want to get him out of the sport of boxing. Anyone who can talk the way he talks and, and online, you got kids looking at us as fighters, and they copy us, so when you got a guy talking about someone's family and, saying the things as he says, kids will look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do when I get into the, when I start fighting. It's bad. It's bad for the sport. So yeah, on the night, it's going to be very spiteful on my part. And yeah, he's got a very, like you said, doggish fight style. that lends itself perfectly to me. I can box, I can fight, I can punch. I can approach this fight in any way I see fit. It's just gonna, I'm gonna feel him out for a round or so, and then I'll decide in which way I want to take him out. It's gonna be domination, complete and utter domination, I believe, on my part. I've trained very hard for this fight. The setbacks have been an issue, but we both had to deal with them, so it's fair game. And yeah, I can't wait.
Obviously, you're going up into Liam Williams territory, up to Cardiff. It's going to be kind of the Lion's Den, going into the Lion's Den in lots of ways, because he will have the majority of the support in there on the night, given that it's a Welsh crowd. Are you having to keep yourself in check in the build-up next week, being around each other, that things perhaps don't boil over? Because it could easily ignite at the press conference, at the weigh-in, all those things.
No, it won't ignite. If it was going to ignite, it would have ignited. It would have ignited when I was sitting across from him at the
London Bridge at the press conference. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, at the press conference, but also when it was just me, him, and Johnny Nelson in a room together, no one else. And you could see he didn't want to be there. I buried the guy for half an hour. You guys will see next week when it comes out. All talk. A true keyboard warrior. That's what he is. And yeah, he's dug himself a hole that he's not going to be able to climb out of. He's going to try hard, but it's my job to go in there, smother him and take him out of there.
So you're predicting a stoppage victory for yourself, yeah?
I think so. Yeah, he's not one of these guys that runs. He's not elusive. I don't see any great defense. So I don't see how the fight can last 12 rounds. Yeah, he doesn't have an amazing chin either. He's been put down before. So I don't see any way that he can win the fight. He's not going to outbox me. He's not going to outfight me. I don't think he has the power to knock me out. But this is the great thing about boxing, is that fighters can be so sure. We can say all these things leading up to a fight, and then once we're in that ring, one punch can just change everything, and you never know when it's going to come. They say fighters can, they age overnight, or they get old overnight. Is that the saying?
You can age overnight, exactly. Yeah. Get old overnight. Get old overnight. Yeah.
So I'm 32 now. Who knows? Maybe I've gotten old overnight. Maybe I'm going to go into the ring and I'm going to be chinny, and if he lands something, I'm going to get hurt. Nobody knows. We'll find out in a week's time.
Well, we look forward to a terrific fight on Saturday night, live and exclusive, of course, on radio, on Talk Sport. Thanks so much, Chris. I've got to ask you a couple of other things very quickly. They're just kind of quick fire, yeah?
Okay.
What's your first meal after a fight?
Usually a pepperoni pizza, yeah, and some Krispy Kreme donuts.
Do you have any superstitions before a fight?
I don't know if it was a superstition, but I always, for my entire career, 10 years, I always wrap my own hands before a fight. I think the last fight I had was the first time I in my career I didn't wrap my own hands, and I don't think I'm ever going to wrap my hands again. So I guess that was the superstition I used to have, but now, unless something goes horribly wrong in this fight with my hands, and then maybe I'll switch back to the next fight. Yeah, I don't really have any superstitions.
Which actor would play you in a film?
That is a great question. Maybe what's the guy from Power? The guy from Power. I think his name's Omari.
Okay.
You seen the show Power?
No, I haven't. No,
It's a
no.
massive show. You Google it. It's on Netflix. It's on.
Amari off Power. Okay.
Yeah.
If you weren't a yeah, if you weren't a boxer, what do you think you'd be?
If I wasn't a boxer, I don't know. I'd be doing some type of sport that, whether, a football player, rugby. I used to play so much rugby back in the day. The only issue with rugby and the two sports I loved were rugby and athletics, but rugby, there's just not enough money in it, as far as I know. And I think the same can be said for track too, unless you're like a Usain Bolt. I don't know how much these guys make, but I'm very ambitious. I like nice things. I always want to be successful. I want to create generational wealth. That's always been a goal of mine. I want to, when I retire, I want to be able to look after my kids' kids. That's the type of person I am. So I would have made sure I got myself into somewhere where I know I could do that. So yeah, I guess maybe a footballer.
Can I guess what position you played in rugby? Was it centre?
No, I was a winger.
Oh, you were a winger. Okay, so you can run.
Very quick. Yeah, I used to I used to win all the track meets and everything. Very fast. Yeah.
Favorite place to fight?
So somewhere that I've already fought, or somewhere
Maybe, or it might be somewhere where you want to fight.
Well, I mean, if you're going to say where was the best place that I've fought so far, I love fighting at the O2.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to fight at Madison Square Garden and also at the MGM in Las Vegas. Those are the two places I've always wanted to fight.
What scares you the most?
Not fulfilling my dreams. That is probably my biggest fear. And I also am not fond of sharks at all.
Do you believe in ghosts?
No, I do not believe in ghosts.
What team, and I think they mean football, do you support?
You got to go with, your home team, and so Brighton. Got to be Brighton.
Brighton and Hove Albion, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be done.
Okay, this or that, dog or cat?
Dog.
Vegan or meat eater?
Meat.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
TV series or film?
Oh man, there's so many good series lately. It has to be film. Just there's too many amazing films out there. Film, yeah.
Is there a film that you want to call up that you love?
I'm a huge movie buff. I watch movies all the time.
Too many.
Yeah, there's no way I could pick one.
And before I go, can you remember the name of the lady in Vegas now?
Oh my God. So the first thing that came to my head was Elaine, but it's not Elaine. It's really gonna annoy me. I mean, I don't know. I could think about it and then text you. Do you need to know the name?
No, I'm gonna look it up for you, Chris.
But I don't even want you to tell me. I don't want you to tell me.
Okay. Okay.
What I do is, see, because I've started noticing over the last few years, memory.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Yeah, but you're a little bit older than me. At 32, I shouldn't be having issues like this,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's called recall. So, a few years ago, if it would take me, 10 seconds to recall something, I'd sit there, what was it? And then I remember. Now it takes me a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes,
I've got her name though, but I've got her name.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you got a name, but I'm going to think about it now, and I'm going to see how long it takes me to remember. I also downloaded an app called Elevate, and it's got all these different mind
games to keep you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because your mind is like your body. You got to train it. You got to keep it active. Otherwise it becomes weak. So yes.
Text me or text Chrissy, because I don't have your number. Text Chrissy or send Chrissy a WhatsApp when you remember her name. Then yeah, no googling, yeah, no googling, because it took me a minute to find her name googling.
Okay.
And there's a picture of her on the story as well. So
yes,
a kind-looking lady, actually.
You know what? Listen, she was lovely when I was with her. A little bit strange, but a good person. And yeah, things got a little bit, weird towards the end. But yeah, I had a great experience out there, and living with her, everything was great. So yeah.
Cool. Well, listen, I'm going to leave you in peace. I'm going to cut that last bit out there, but that you and I have just been chatting. Can't wait to see you next week. Sorry I didn't get to see you this week. I was really looking forward to it, but I get it. I knew something was, I was a bit worried that you might have something serious, like got COVID or.
No, yeah, it's we're okay. Everything's okay.
Don't be around anyone you don't need to be around at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying my best to stay away from everything.
Because you could have COVID and no fucking symptoms, and
yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely to see you, bud, as always. Yeah.
Okay, good to speak to you.
Yeah, I'll see you in Cardiff on Wednesday, is it? Wednesday or Thursday, whichever the day is.
Yeah, I travel up on Tuesday night, but yeah, I'll be Wednesday is I think when everything starts, yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the time as always, yeah.
All right, Gareth, speak to you a bit.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Chris.